Hi, welcome to the Externship and Clinic Information session. My name is Professor Jennifer Turney. I'm one of the externship professors at Florida Coastal, and I'll be giving a little bit of information about the externship program as well as the application process. As I said, my name is Professor Jennifer Turney. This is my contact information. The other externship professor is Professor Kathleen Toohey. Our offices are located in the clinic suite that's on the second floor, room 255. If you would like to speak to us, if you have any additional questions after you watch this information video, feel free to call us or email us, and we would be glad to set up an appointment with you so we can talk in more detail about your externship goals and how you can achieve them. So the first question that a lot of people have is the difference between an externship and a clinic. Both externships and clinics are great ways to earn experience while you're getting class credit. Now, the difference between a clinic and an externship, a clinic is actually a teaching law firm that's housed here on campus. It's on the second floor. Each separate clinic is run by an individual professor, and all of your cases will be managed by that professor, and you'll work with that professor during the semester. Externships, on the other hand, you are actually in a placement, a legal placement out in the community. You're supervised by one of the externship professors, either me or Professor Toohey, but you'll be doing your work at the actual placement out in the community. And we'll discuss in just a few minutes the variety of different types of placements that there are that you can do your externship at. Now, if you were admitted to Florida Coastal in fall of 2013 or any time after, you do have 6 credits of experiential learning that's required in order to graduate. Clinics and externships do fulfill this requirement. A lot of students have questions about how many credits do they need to take or how many credits can they take each semester with their externship. Externships require that for a new placement, so if you haven't been in an externship before with that particular placement, there is a minimum of 3 credit hours that you're required to take. The maximum number of credits that you can take in any semester is 6 for a summer semester, and fall and spring it's a maximum of 10 credits. And up here on the screen you can see a breakdown of how some of the credit hours break down to the number of hours that you're actually required to work at the externship location. Most students will take a 3 credit externship each semester, which breaks down to 135 hours of work over the semester, which for a spring or fall semester is about 11 hours a week. Another popular option is to take 4 credits, especially in the summer, because 4 hours is typically considered full-time for the summer, and that requires 180 hours of work, which equates to about 26 hours of work per week during the summer and about 15 hours per week during the fall or spring semester. It's important to know how many hours of work is required for each credit hour because you must have your hours fulfilled in order to get a passing grade for the semester. It's also important to know what the credit hour requirement is and how many hours you're required to be at the placement for purposes of planning your schedule for the semester. A lot of students like to have either full days that they can devote to being at their placement, or at least large chunks of days that you can be at your placement. This is good for your productivity at your placement. You know, once you get there, you can really get into your work. As well as travel time, parking costs, and things like that. A lot of students tend to want to just go to their placement maybe twice a week or 3 times a week, as opposed to small chunks of time 5 days a week. So the other aspect of externships is the classroom component, and the ABA requires that in order to receive academic credit for your placement, that you have an opportunity to reflect on your learning and that you receive support from a faculty supervisor. So for a first-time placement in an externship, you will have to attend weekly meetings. They're on Wednesdays from 5 to 6. You'll also have 3 faculty supervisor meetings, as well as 3 journals, and we'll require that you turn in your timesheets every other week so that we can keep track of your time and account for your time and make sure that you're meeting your hour requirements. The school has a number of externships that we have already set up with locations, and there's a list of those. But if you want to go home for a semester, or you have an externship, an idea for an externship that we don't already have created and established, you can create your own externship. To do that, you'll find the externship or potential externship placement. You'll fill out a form on Simplicity. It's under the Surveys tab, and it's called Student Found Externship Form. You'll fill out that form, and there is a deadline each semester, so be sure that you're looking for that deadline. Or if you have a question about what that is for this semester, feel free to contact either me or Professor Tui. Once you've completed the form and submitted it, one of the externship professors will qualify the placement, will contact the placement and make sure that it meets all the requirements for academic credit. And in case you're wondering what those requirements are, you will be able to find those in the Externship and Clinic Handbook, which we'll discuss a little bit later in this segment. And in that handbook, it does set out the requirements of what the placement needs to meet in order to qualify for credit. I also want to take a moment to make sure that everyone understands there's a lot of talk about needing to have or be considered eligible for a CLI in order to do your externship. And I want to make sure that it's clear to everyone that while some externships do require or prefer that you be eligible to get a CLI clearance, not all of the externships require it, and by far most of them actually don't require that you be eligible to become a CLI. So I want to make sure that's clear. Again, when you look at the Externship and Clinic Handbook, you'll be able to see which externships require that and which ones don't. So now I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about what some of the different externship placements we offer each semester. And these externships are broken down into what we call phases, and the phases correlate with their application period. So the phase 1 externships are the externships that have early application deadlines. Phase 2 externships have a little bit later application deadline. Things that are included in the Phase 1 externships include the judicial externship placements, and we have externships set up with the Florida Supreme Court, a couple of the district courts, as well as the Federal District Court here in Jacksonville, some of the state courts at the trial level here in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and Yulee. And what you'll do is, if you get an externship with a judicial placement, you can count on doing some research, drafting memos for judges, potentially creating draft orders for judges, certainly doing some court observation, and you'll also have the opportunity to network with attorneys and judges. Also within the Phase 1 are our corporate or in-house legal department externships. We have a number of companies here in town with legal departments that host externs each semester. Depending on what your interests are, there's a number of different practice areas. Fidelity and Regency Centers tend to do a lot of work with, if you like, property law. Those might be good fits for you. If healthcare law is something you're interested in, certainly the University of Florida Shands and the University of Florida General Counsel externships would be good choices for you. We have the XPO Logistics, which is obviously a logistics company here in town. If you're interested in taxes or alternative legal careers, the Tax Defense Network is a good one for you. Main Street America Group is good if you're interested or have a background in insurance. We also have web.com and Wounded Warrior Project, which are also two popular externships for students. In federal government, We have the U.S. Attorney's Office and Federal Public Defender, where you can see criminal prosecution and defense work on the federal level. HUD, again, is a good one if you're interested in real estate law. IRS, if you're interested in taxes. The Immigration and Custom Enforcement is down in Orlando, so that's a popular one for students who are either commuting or for students in the summer who are going back to Orlando. Let's see, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Now that one is in Glencoe, which is Georgia, which is about 45 minutes to an hour north of here. So take that into consideration if you apply for that one. And also within the Phase 1 externships is the Florida Attorney General's office. Now the Phase 2 externships, like I said earlier, the externships that have a little bit later application date. And so let's look at what's included within the Phase 2 externship group. You have state and local government, and we have those externships set up in St. Johns County, Nassau County, Fernandina, here in Jacksonville as well. Public interest externships are included in Phase 2, such as Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, Three Rivers Legal Aid, Guardian Ad Litem, and Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida if you're from the Daytona area, Florida Institutional Legal Services if you're from Gainesville. Maybe you're going back there for the summer. Those are two good options. Then we also have, if you're interested in criminal law, state attorney's offices, as you can see, all around Duval, Nassau, and Clay counties, as well as St. Augustine, St. Johns County area. We also have public defender's offices in each of those areas, as well as some Georgia locations. A lot of the state attorneys and public defender's offices either require or they prefer, if you are eligible, to receive a CLI license for the semester. But again, you'll need to check the handbook to see specific requirements for each location. So as long as we're talking about CLI requirements, a lot of people are not exactly clear about what that is. They think if they just have received their notice of registrant clearance from the Florida Bar that they are a CLI, and that's not true. Receiving your notice of registrant clearance is just the first step in order to become a CLI. You need to have completed 48 credit hours and be enrolled in a qualifying externship or clinic. And some of those that are qualifying externships include state attorney's offices, public defender's offices, as well as some of the in-house clinics here at Florida Coastal. Now, I've referred to a couple of times this handbook that we've put together. It's our externship and clinic handbook. It's published every semester. And it's published right before the application periods open. And for the most part, most of the externships and clinics that are in here are the same for most semesters. Now we do have additional ones that are included in the summer book because we do include things outside of the Jacksonville area for those of you who are going back home for the summer semester. And so these books are available in the Center for Student Advising. They're also available up in the clinic office. You'll just stop by, pick one up. These include detailed descriptions of the different externships and clinics that are available at the law school. You'll also be able to see what application materials are required for each placement. You'll also find out how to submit your application materials. There's also information and frequently asked questions that are included in this book. And so if you have some questions about externships or clinics or the application process or CLI requirements, a lot of that information can be found in this handbook. So I encourage you to go ahead and get a copy of this handbook. Go ahead and look over it. Maybe you want to kind of map out what externships or clinics you want to do in the future. And so you kind of want to use this as a guidepost, not only for what you want to apply to this semester, but maybe what you plan on applying to for the following semester, maybe even next year. So how do you apply to externships? Well, for each semester, you're going to want to check the application dates. Applications for externships start early in the semester before you want to do your externship, especially if you're thinking that you want to do a phase 1 externship. Those application periods tend to open either the week that you start back to school or sometime around then for the following semester. So if you're thinking about applying for a spring externship, you're going to want to look for those phase 1 applications to open the week that you come back in the fall semester before. So you really need to be paying attention. You can check with the Center for Student Advising, any of the plasmas, the information boards around the school. You can look at the front page of the Clinic and Externship Handbook. They'll always have the application dates, when it opens, when they close, when the deadlines are. So be looking for that information. So that you know when phase 1 opens and closes, the application periods for phase 2 open and close, and the application periods for clinics. For externships, applications are only accepted through Simplicity. When the applications are being accepted for either phase 1 or phase 2 externships, they will be open on Simplicity, meaning you'll be able to see them there. You'll be able to submit your application materials directly to that posting, just like you would if you were applying to a law clerk position or another opportunity like that, or jobs when you get close to graduation time. In addition to submitting your application materials through Simplicity, you're also required to submit an externship and clinic preference and agreement form. These forms, you can submit a paper copy, and the paper copies you can pick up either at the clinic office, or you can also pick them up in the Center for Student Advising. You'll fill it out and turn it back in, or if you prefer to do it electronically, you can also submit this exact same form electronically on Simplicity. You'll go under the Surveys tab, and it's called Externship and Clinic Agreement and Preference Form under the Surveys tab. You'll click on it, you'll fill out the form, hit submit, and it's submitted right there. So if you're filling out your preference, or if you're applying to applications late at night from the comfort of your home, you can just go right on there and at the same time fill out the survey electronically and submit it, and you never have to come into the office to do it. So thank you very much for finding out more information about clinics and externships. If you have any questions about externships, feel free to contact me, Professor Jennifer Turney, or Professor Kathleen Toohey, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you have. Thanks, and we look forward to having you in an externship class soon.